They were just two small kids with scraped knees and empty pockets when the doctors said their grandmother was gone forever, but one impossible hit, one split-second decision, and a secret buried for decades changed death into destiny, poverty into unimaginable wealth, and turned these forgotten children into legends the world would never stop talking about. So before this story takes your breath away, subscribe now because stories like this only get more unbelievable from here. Everyone in the small riverside town believed Grandma Leon's life ended on a rainy Tuesday afternoon when the old clinic's heart monitor flatlined and the exhausted doctor pulled the sheet over her thin body, but no one noticed the two children standing frozen in the corner of the room, 9-year-old Kai clutching his 7-year-old sister May's shaking hand, their faces pale not from fear but from a strange certainty that something was terribly unfinished, because Grandma Leon had always told them stories at night about promises stronger than death, about debts owed to the universe, about how blood remembers what minds forget, and as the nurses stepped away to fill out paperwork and the doctor sighed with relief at another long shift ending, Kai felt a pressure in his chest like something inside him was screaming to move, to act, to do something now or lose everything forever, and without knowing why, he remembered Grandma Leon teaching him an odd childhood game where she would tap his chest sharply once and laugh when he gasped, saying it was an old village trick to wake stubborn spirits. So driven by instinct and terror and love, Kai climbed onto the hospital bed, raised his small fist, and struck his grandmother's chest once, hard and precise, right where she had always shown him, while May screamed for him to stop, and the sound echoed like a gunshot in the quiet room, and for one horrifying second nothing happened, until Grandma Leon's body convulsed, her back arched, and the heart monitor shrieked back to life as if angered by being proven wrong, causing nurses to run in shouting and the doctor to stumble backward in disbelief, and while professionals rushed to stabilize her, Kai and May were dragged away crying and accused of assault, nearly arrested until security footage showed the impossible miracle, and within hours the story spread through the hospital like wildfire, doctors whispering words like, anomaly, and, freak coincidence, but Grandma Leon knew better when she finally woke days later, gripping Kai's wrist with surprising strength and whispering in his ear that the debt was paid and the door was now open, and that was when everything truly began to change. Because Grandma Leon was not just a poor old woman who sold vegetables at the market, she was the last living keeper of a forgotten inheritance tied to a defunct corporation erased from records decades earlier after a mysterious fire, an inheritance locked behind biometric proof of living blood and a heartbeat that had once stopped and returned, a condition no one else could ever fulfill, and now that she had crossed death's edge and come back, the vault was legally and biologically unlocked, something she had waited her entire life for but never expected to survive long enough to claim. And when officials from a foreign financial institution arrived weeks later demanding proof of identity and legitimacy, they were stunned when Grandma Leon calmly completed every impossible verification step, including a rare cardiac resonance test that confirmed her unique medical event, triggering the release of assets so vast they made the bankers go silent, assets quietly accumulating interest for over 50 years, tied to land, patents, rare minerals, and technology investments seeded long before the modern world understood their value. And overnight the children who once slept on a thin mattress in a leaking house found themselves moved into a guarded estate, their names protected by international law, while media outlets fought for interviews and skeptics accused the family of fraud until documents older than most governments shut every mouth. But wealth alone did not transform Kai and May, because Grandma Leon insisted they remain kind, disciplined, and invisible, teaching them that money was a tool, not an identity, and when she passed away peacefully years later, this time for real, she left everything to the children she said had dragged her back from the edge of eternity, and instead of wasting the fortune, Kai and May grew into brilliant, compassionate adults who shocked the world by dissolving corrupt monopolies, rebuilding hospitals in forgotten regions, funding medical research into sudden cardiac death inspired by that single childhood hit, and quietly acquiring failing industries only to restructure them ethically, earning them the title of the world's richest siblings without a single scandal. And when Kai was once asked at a global summit how it felt to hold more wealth than entire nations, he smiled sadly and said the richest thing he ever held was his grandmother's heartbeat returning under his fist, and May later revealed that the greatest twist of all was that the inheritance was designed to go to whoever saved Grandma Leon's life when the time came, not by law or money, but by courage, instinct, and love, proving that destiny doesn't always arrive in suits and contracts, sometimes it arrives in small hands, one impossible hit, and a heart that refuses to let go.